Mhm.
Right. Welcome everyone who decided to watch us and is still here. It
Yeah.
looks like there's some viewers, but I don't know if it's just us. But anyways,
It's
thank
just
you.
us.
It might be. Anyways, okay, so the reason we're actually here early, everybody, is because we decided we wanted to record our character genesis for how we. Oh, Duck Duck's there. Hi, Duck Duck. Um, we wanted to kind of go through our character creation process, not only how we do it individually, but also how we talked about it within the party to try to figure out what we're doing before we start. It's just something that we do. I don't know if that's helpful or not to anybody else. So, how do you roll up a character in Dungeons and Dragons? The answer is simple. Read through Chapter 1, step by step characters in the 5e Player's Handbook. Does that leave you a little
The end.
unsatisfied? It does too. So, that's why we're going to try to walk you through some of this stuff. The first thing that, at least that actually happened when we were talking about our new campaign, which is going to be following up Everything Dies. Thank you, Anderson1855, for the follow. Appreciate it. So the first thing that we started talking about was how we were going to get our stats, right? The game mechanics. This is how the game works. This is how all your stuff happens. So how are we going to get our initial starting ability stats? There are two ways listed in the handbook. You can either roll dice and take there's a you roll 3d6 and you
Handbook.
tat them up. Yeah, it's in the handbook. Or they give you a point buy system by which everyone has the same amount of points to start out with, and each statistic costs a certain number of points. Now, the way that I look at it, and I gave this outline to the rest of the crew here, and nobody else looked at it beforehand, but
Nobody used it.
nobody. No, I was like, anybody look at that? Actually, somebody was like, yeah, I read through it, but everybody else was like, oh, I
This
downloaded that
guy.
thing, yeah.
Yeah. No.
But so there are two
In other words,
things
that
to
means
decide on.
almost everyone here is honest except for that one person.
Right.
I just checked it like 3 minutes ago.
There you go.
It's
Well,
very
better-
thorough.
better late
Ervin
than never.
absolutely did read through it because that's just the way he is.
I took notes on it.
Yeah. Ervin improved it, but then kept those notes secret so as to make us all look foolish later, rather than sharing them.
Are there cliff notes of your notes? Because that's what I want to look at.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So when it comes
Keep
to
it short.
when it comes to deciding on the point buy system, there's kind of two main schools of thought, right? Points will give you a level playing field amongst all of your characters, right? Everybody's going to have the same array of statistics starting up.
Nobody
However-
likes that.
Well, some people do. Some people like it so that everybody is on the same playing field. Now, here's the reality. If you roll for stats, it's going to be more like true variation between your players, and that's just kind of how life is. And then also you have the capability of ending up with an overall higher stat pool, right? So rather than 12, 12, 12, 13, 18, for example, you might end up with 14, 14, 13, 16, 16, right? So
8.
something, whatever, yeah. There's just, it's when you're rolling, you just don't know. You take a chance at having poor stats, but you are rewarded with the possibility of getting higher ones. Now,
And just so you guys all know, I rolled my stats and I ended up with 7 18s for my new character.
Nice.
Yeah. Even though there are only 6 abilities, he got a 7th 18.
right?
Yeah.
Just
I got 7 of them. I'm not even sure how that works.
Probability of that happening.
he dropped the lowest. He rolled 7, dropped the lowest.
So in the end, it just so happened that our group was kind of split on the matter. Some guys are like, "Hey, let's roll them up." I want those juicy statistics, and I'm lucky. So when I'm not rolling craps and winning thousands of dollars at that, I'm rolling up D&D characters and selling them online. And then other guys are like, doesn't seem to matter. Like I will roll whatever I don't need to, no matter what the dice is, and no matter whether I need it to be a high roll or a low roll, I'm gonna end up with a bad roll.
Yeah.
And
More
so-
specifically,
Critical fail.
really rolling craps.
Yeah.
Over here.
Right, or rolling craps at the wrong time. Exactly. So, to keep the gambling analogy going. So in the end, the dungeon master agreed that he preferred to have a standardized kind of point buy system. So as far as I know, I think that's what we're planning on doing.
Did he?
And I always tell people, feel free to nerf a character as much as you like. I mean, I've found in 30 plus years of playing that the
Explain what nerf means.
Basically, like
Not that I don't know, but
yeah, I wanted to have a
in the room.
character like the lowest score you're supposed to start with is an 8, but I really wanted to have a character with a 6 charisma. So I did that in one of the games, and I didn't get to add the points anywhere else. I just wanted to have. This was a character named Worm, who was this kind of a beggar street hobo guy, who was really kind of disgusting and socially awkward to boot. So I really wanted to play up the fact that this guy's charisma.
So you're playing
so
yourself.
it's you.
Well, I'm playing
You're
myself,
playing
pretty much,
yourself.
yeah. Street murder hobo.
It's always the best inspiration.
Anybody in this group,
Play yourself.
anybody in this group can speak to playing nerfed characters, it would be Mr. Lockhart. As every time he has done a generating a character with me, he spends half the time going, no, this is too high. This stat is too high. Nope. So, do you have anything to say?
That's specifically because he had to DM us all playing the Dark Sun campaign,
He
and he
knows
was like,
the pain
"No,
of max
no,
characters,
that was too
yeah.
high. That's way too high. Everybody here has too high of stats."
Look,
You know what?
can't
It's-
jump
Mic
off
off.
of a moving target and land on
Mic
another
on.
moving target and then bite his head off. It's physically impossible.
No.
Well, we are
No, I've
playing
done that.
a fantasy role-playing game, so physics aren't really a part of the deal.
That's
Just getting ready
that's
to
why we
roll
play.
a character in Dungeons and Dragons.
But it can also add a lot of amazing flavor to your character.
You do.
You
And
know,
I've
everybody wants
actually-
to maximize.
I've
You know-
actually pulled that same move off in real life, so it's not impossible.
I think it was this
my
way.
thought is on the roll versus point buy is most of us, rolled for our attributes at birth in real life and didn't do great. I mean, okay on some of them. So this being a fantasy,
Let's do a little
Hey.
better.
let's even the
absolutely-
field.
I absolutely crushed that 7 charisma.
Okay, so now that we've kind of determined what our statistics are going to be, and since that's kind of the backbone of every character in Dungeons and Dragons is their statistics, when we've determined how we're going to get it, we would go ahead and take that down, and we would do that. There's a chart in the player's handbook. We're not actually going to physically do that right now because with this many people, it would just be super bulky and cumbersome for us all to try to roll up our characters on camera. So instead, what we are going to do is because we know what our statistics are going to be generated at does not really make a character. And so for us, at least, we've decided that we're going to discuss some ideas about our party makeup and all that stuff amongst each other to try to help figure out what kind of a group we want to be, right? So some of the ideas that I figure we would want to discuss are going to be different character races. Different character races in Dungeons and Dragons give different abilities and different statistical bonuses. So what races are there? Because for example, different players look at races differently. So so do different characters in the story. Depending on what kind of campaign you're playing, you may not want to play a character that is way too far out that it just doesn't fit in at all. Of course, then again, maybe that's exactly what you want to do. So either way, discussing the different races with your group might actually be a good idea beforehand, just to make sure that there isn't going to be somebody that's like, you know what, I have an absolute hatred of orcs, and every time I see an orc of any kind or any amount of bloodline, I will attempt to kill that thing, right? Well, okay. So knowing that that's going to be some character,
That never happened to me ever.
I actually that's a direct story. I'm pulling from an actual campaign that I played with in along with Kayed and Alistero, Caleb, who's got his name as Caleb right now from a different campaign, and that's exactly what happened. So, does everybody have any idea what kind of race that they are want to be? I'm planning on most likely playing a half elf, mostly.
I'm going to play a Tibet, which is a cat person.
And then, I guess to follow that up too, if anybody has been thinking about that, is there anything that anybody's like, okay, if I play, like, since we've just talked about that, maybe we should go over, is there any races anybody's going to have that are like, I kill on sight?
Well, question for DM: are there any limits in this campaign to the available 5e races?
I was looking at the 5e races earlier, and I basically have seen or at least know all of them. Okay, so except for some of the monster races. So I didn't look at bugbear, goblin, hobgoblin, kobold, lizard folk, minotaur, orc, or Yuan-ti. I guess those are playable.
I played a Cobalt once. It was great. I loved it.
But as far as the exotic races, so all the common races, so dragonborn, dwarf, elf, gnome, half-elf, half-orc, halfling, human, and tiefling, all on the table. Then as far as the exotic races, Arakora,
Spiders.
Birdman.
Birdman.
Birdman. Azimon. I haven't looked up changelings or fur blogs, but I do know Genasi, Gith, Goliath, Kalishtar, Kenku, Shifter, Tabaxi, Tortle, Triton, and Warforged. I think Warforged might be a bit of a sell just because was like an entire
like Age of Ultron looking guy.
Right. I mean, we could certainly work it out if somebody wanted to have a Warforged. But yeah,
that sounds awesome.
We could make it happen.
I could play the Warforged tank.
You're already playing a Tabaki.
Yeah, but I could change. I could change to a Warforged tank. I mean, come on.
There's just a full 5e list in the chat, gentlemen. If anybody needs to take a look at what's available, and lady, if you would like to see the full list, it's in the chat right now.
Right.
The Facebook chat, rather.
Oh, Facebook.
Oh, how many chats do we have?
I'm like
Enough.
I've got
Enough to confuse everybody.
The roll
I can't post it in the Twitch chat right now.
I mean, if somebody really wanted to do a Warforged, I think it would be kind of cool if we did that. If there was one or possibly two. Again, like after our Dark Sun campaign, which had the most unlikely group of fucking characters ever, I'm not ruling anything out because, so this was in Dark Sun, which is, I guess it should be coming to 5e in the near future. It was something that was in 4th edition and old school 2nd edition. There was a it had most of the sort of common well-known classes and then had some twists on some of them. Like halflings are not the little stout, pudgy, happy-go-lucky, cheerful guys. Now they're tiny little savage cannibalistic headhunters.
Mm-hmm.
They're like something out of an Amazonian pygmy nightmare. Which is super fun because that fits the world of Dark Sun, which is very dark and sort of grim and gothic, or not gothic, but it's like Mad Max.
Where'd Coops go?
There was also a race of creatures that were basically gigantic praying mantis people called the Thrycreen, and I went on this big long rant and rave about how stupid I thought this race was. I was like, how would you even role play this? They're not even human. They've got an exoskeleton, for Christ's sake.
You basically dared us.
Yeah.
You said I dare you.
Right. As I went on,
you boxed me into a corner. I had no choice.
So yes, then Joe and Chris Lyons both decided to play the characters, and the way that they did it was actually I thought it was brilliant. I had the one human character who was kind of the glue that held these feral halflings and the Thrycreen. They all kind of revolved around my guy because I was the one who could interact with anything because I'm the human, and so I would constantly have this ragtag group of people, especially the Thrycreen, who I was like their adopted father, and so they would follow me around and constantly try to like mimic things I did, as though it was almost like the dog being raised by goats or something. The dog thinks it's a goat, so it's the same thing. I had these Thrycreen following me around, and there was a hilarious scene where we're at the market, and all of a sudden I'm trying to like buy some supplies, and I hear crashes and people screaming and running, and the next thing I see, like one of the Thrycreen has a pair of pants on its head and it's like trying to wear it because it doesn't understand how clothes work. And it's like, am I doing it right? Is this right? Yeah. And the other one's going, no, here, you need to pull down harder. And he's like, just smashing the pants over his head. So yeah, after that, which was role-playing gold, and again, just shows how the weirdest mix of characters, classes, races, whatever, if you sell it right, it can totally work. And so
absolutely.
That's why I'm like, Warforged, sure. Yes, so basically anything except for any of the monster races, I am totally down for.
So none of the
So I can't play a bugbear, is what you're saying?
Yeah, right. Well, I guess I'd have to look and see exactly what the
One of the interesting things
They
about
accepted in
Sean
Baldur's Gate. I mean, let's see.
Yeah, they're you actually, yeah. I mean, it seems like you probably could. They're
So unless somebody has some, and we can, I guess, maybe get back to the different races and what we're all going to be playing.
mhm.
The next, I guess, item on the agenda would be like, what class is everybody thinking about playing, or at least leaning towards right now? I've noticed that, sometimes it's fun to play an all bard group, but other times it's a little bit better to get some variation because the different classes can serve as different functions within a combat scenario, essentially. And so,
Well, and they also provide great
Of
role-playing opportunities
course.
between different people. Like, you have very, very different, the type of person that becomes a paladin is not the same type of person that becomes a monk or, whatever else. Like, it takes a very special person to be a paladin.
Well, thank you.
Ooh,
Just wish we could still find the guy.
Thanks for the share.
You are an amazing player.
Yeah, well, I know since Courtney's the newest, I was talking with her a little bit today about things that she wanted to do, and I don't remember which one of y'all had mentioned, had asked, is somebody going to play like a noble, because they wanted to basically be like
That's me.
sort of like the henchmanish or whatever.
A herald. I want to play a herald. That's what I had been talking about with Shotten.
Oh,
I don't
nice.
know if he's in this
I
one
was-
or not.
Well, because
I was going to play a nephew or a cousin. Yeah, cousin to someone who's nobility. So prince.
Okay, because
Gonna play a
I
prince.
was thinking about playing a half elven sorcerer with a noble background.
Nice.
Who's that?
Who's that?
Courtney.
Courtney.
Oh, okay.
Oh, cool.
Perfect.
That'd be better.
Yeah.
Hey, by the way, welcome, Courtney.
Yeah, absolutely.
well,
Yeah, officially.
Official failure.
Official failure
Oh,
t-shirt.
yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Official failure. Number one failure.
Natural one.
So
Hey, that's back.
I am planning on playing or at least my character concept right now is an advisor / servant for a noble class who's received training in heraldry, music, performing arts, and then
Nice.
some swordplay too, because I'm also to be a bit of a bodyguard in the worst of cases.
Nice.
So
Nice.
Another campaign question: is there anything specific to this campaign that I'm not familiar with this specific storyline? It's like what basically Baldur's Gate Part 3, right?
Yeah.
I'm not
It's
familiar with Baldur's Gate at all. So
Well, I only
Okay,
know it
so-
from the video games from the 80s, man. Like
Right.
90s
Yep.
or whatever it was. What's is there anything that you can tell us about the story? Just a rough outline that would kind of give us some direction
Yeah,
for
what's the
class
teaser?
and race?
Give us the
Yes.
teaser.
Well, first of all, the one thing that they did with this adventure campaign that is new, at least I haven't seen them do before, is they have what is it? There is for the characters, you have like a binding event that takes place that connects all the characters together. So you don't have this like, wait a minute, okay, we all meet in a tavern, and what the hell are we doing here? Like, what's going on? So there is some sort of event happens that ties all of the different characters together. It's called the Dark Secret. Okay, and
so we're starting out with 74,000 experience, is what you're
74,
saying?
right? But the different dark secrets. It can be like a conspiracy. It can be a murder. There can be a theft or a failed coup, and everybody has some role in
That's so awesome.
the dark secret. Whether God, you could have been, hey, maybe you were the leader in the coup, or maybe you were a complete innocent who got caught up, like you were in the wrong place at the wrong time, and you just got stuck with this group of people, guilt by association. But no matter what, it's a thing that binds it together.
Missed that.
Right. So that's kind of neat, and we can get into that.
Is there like a major war going on or something too? Is that like a major?
Yeah. So this is the very beginning text for the adventure. It says, "Welcome to Baldur's Gate, a veritable nest of rats and vipers clinging to the rocky slopes overlooking the Chianthar River. From their high perches in the upper city, the local nobles, known as patriarchs, gaze down with veiled contempt upon the common rabble in the grimy lower city, which hugs the foggy harbor. The whole of Baldur's Gate reeks of blood, crime, and opportunity. One can easily fathom why pirates and traders are drawn to this place like flies to a carcass. Following the river farther east would eventually lead you to Elturel, capital city of the Holy Land of Elturgard, or at least that was the case until a few days ago. The flood of refugees from Elturel has gotten worse since news first arrived that the city has fallen. Everyone is saying Baldur's Gate is next, but no one truly knows who or what has claimed Elturel. The Patriarchs pay a mercenary army called the Flaming Fist to protect their interests in Baldur's Gate, and by extension, the city itself. The Flaming Fist has gained even more power since their charismatic leader, Alder Ravengard, claimed the title of Grand Duke a few years ago. Apparently, Ravengard is now missing. In his absence, the Flaming Fist has sealed the city's gates to staunch the flow of refugees. No one is allowed in or out. All of this was brought to your attention shortly after you were drafted by the Flaming Fist to help defend the city. Your orders are to speak to a captain named Zodge at the Basilisk Gate, which pierces the city's eastern wall and takes its name from the various statues that rest in its niches and perch upon its battlements. Unseen beyond the sealed Basilisk Gate, a dirt road stretches through the outer city slums to the bridge known as Worm's Crossing, and then to distant realms beyond. Dozens of Flaming Fist soldiers are trying to control an angry mob of commoners eager to leave the city. Armed with only a vague description of Captain Zodge, who is described as a tall man with long black hair and a leather eye patch, it takes you a while to find him. A fight breaks out between soldiers and commoners, and you finally spot the one-eyed captain as he wades into the fray and begins throwing punches. Just another day in the City of Blood. And that is how the adventure starts. So basically...
Nobility does play a factor in this.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Real quick. What was the name of the leader of this mercenary gang? That's
Alder. So Ulder Ravengard.
Okay. And
that's One-Eyed Willie.
What race and class is he? Because that's who I'm gonna play.
Because you can be like, I am Alder Ravengard.
No, I am Alder Ravengard.
So, I got a question. So
the real Alder Ravengard, please stand up. Please stand up.
This is gonna be a firefight or another bug hunt.
Are you gonna? So are the races that are gonna be like populating the city and populating the world? Are they gonna be? Are they going to be mostly equivalent to what our party's race is? So, like, if we have mostly elves and dwarves and humans, and we have one cat person, will the rest? I mean, is the cat person going to be the only one that we've ever seen or heard about?
No. Like, so the Tabaxi, they are from the island of Salt.
Get it right. That's Tabaki.
Tabaki. The Tabaki. They are.
Tabaki's what Jeb chews.
And they are known to run around. I mean, in real life, I had no idea that was a playable race, and that we were playing the whatever module where you're on the island of Chult, and the DM's describing these cat people. I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, there are cat people? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, since when? And he's like, yeah, it's a new race. I'm like, holy shit. And I was like, that's amazing. I'm just imagining all these cat people. So my guy, who's a human sorcerer, I just became fascinated with these Tabaxi. And while we were in the city, I spent all my money hiring Tabaxi minstrels to follow us around because I loved it so much. And there was a Tabaxi in the party too, and I would just always give him extra money just because I thought he was so cool. But as far as
you wanted to be able to pet him.
Yeah, I know. I was like, look at them. They look like little people. Oh, my gosh. Yeah, that was super condescending and awesome.
I just stepped into my backyard, and there's a deer out here just looking at me.
Oh, nice.
I would have. I swear he
me.
was going to be like, I stepped outside, there's a Tabaxi looking at me.
Staring at me.
Fucking staring at me.
Nope.
Hold on.
Just a regular old deer
Gate.
just staring at me.
Thank you,
Like,
baby.
what the fuck are you doing out here?
demographics.
The Tabaxi are in Volo's Guide to Monsters, if you are curious.
It's like most of the Dungeons and Dragons campaigns I've played in, the overwhelming majority of NPCs are humans.
Yeah.
And then you'll get, I mean, friendly NPCs. Obviously, the enemies are all whatever. But like, then the only time you ever encounter anyone non-human is like, oh, you guys are going to the elf city, so there's all elves around. And then it really, like, you notice that it seems foreign. You know, that they do foreign things and they do different things. And unless you got an elf in your party, it seems different. But like, if we, with all these races available, you know, if someone's playing a Tabaxi, are we going to see them wandering through the city? Are any of the, you know, NPCs that we interact with, are they going to ever be Tabaxi? You know, or is it going to always be?
Well, are they going to suffer from racial?
So a lot of times the Tabaxi are racially profiled as thieves. People think they're thieves.
Well, it just makes sense. Easy for you to play that.
Cats, so of course.
But I'm thinking of playing a paladin, so a Tabaxi paladin.
Oh, that'd be so classic. Self-righteous thief.
I just want to know like how, you know, like in the Everyone Dies campaign, like wasn't geez, now I forgot everyone's name. The Jamaican guy.
Yeah,
it's Umbra.
Umbra. The center of the story.
Yeah, don't worry
like,
about forgetting his name. He only has 7 of them.
No, yeah, he changes it.
Boy.
I mean, Umbra was like the only. You were like the only one that we'd seen or something, right?
I was the Chatterkai.
Yeah, it was like there was like some people that were super rare and we didn't see.
We'd only heard of them. Nobody had ever seen one until the Shadowfell became merged with the Material Realm. And when that happened, he was the very first one any of the party had seen. And then since then, we've seen a lot of them because the Shadowfell got merged, you know, with the Material Realm, and well, then they're just commingling now.
But that's also why he changed his name, was because he was wanted. He was wanted to be killed. He had a price on his head, and he was the only one of that race around. Therefore,
so once again, race. Just to recap, that is super duper important. Just like I'm not trying to move on, but I just want to bring it back to
he is.
Why race
and I just want to clarify something. I just want to clarify something.
Chris will stop
it's not that he wanted to; it's that he deserved to be killed.
So the separate storyline.
Well, as far as population and demographics go, the population of Baldur's Gate has always been dominated by humans, though other races such as elves, dwarves, and even to a lesser extent some drow settle within the city and are not looked upon differently. The older districts of the upper city and lower city were quite diverse, while the newer neighborhoods saw some homogenization along ethnic and racial lines. While no race is outright banned, more monstrous humanoids such as trolls, ogres, and orcs are a rare sight indeed.
I don't know what homogenized means, except when it comes
to they drink a lot of milk.
They have a Starbucks.
It's like pasteurized.
How to use that Google thing.
I'm just trying to put it all together.
When they get a Starbucks, that means that they have.
So,
what I really want to know is what John's planning on playing, because he's not here right now.
No, he hasn't showed up for a couple of sessions. I don't know. Maybe he's taking a backseat break too.
Yeah, I don't know.
Is there any
Brady Bunch window going already? We don't need any.
Is there any classes that would be not welcome in the city?
Anything you play.
I'm a human.
So those of you at home, Chris only asked that because he wants to play that race in class.
Yeah.
What is the most hated class?
I'm just going to play whatever you put, and I'm going to do it better.
He's anything you can play, I can play better.
I'm just here to fuck up. I am going to fuck up every plan Chris has. That's my whole goal in life.
He's going to win at D&D.
Self-laid plans.
Well,
my Tabaxi Paladin comes in and fucks it up.
That was Lockie's whole goal when he re-rolled. was to fuck up everything I did and kill my best friend and then eventually kill me.
Now,
all lies.
Hey, all I could say is I just met the guy and I already like him. We seem to be along the same wavelength. Not gonna fuck up Lions. Lions likes to play. Let's just fuck with him all the time.
The dungeon master's gonna have to figure out how to do breakout rooms so he can play different parties when they go to kill each other.
Oh, I've got the breakout. I keep telling them that they can have breakout. I will let them co-host, but they need to learn how to do it, and I can't ever get their email address.
So, quick question, Courtney, are you?
Sorry, go ahead.
Are you thoroughly lost yet, Courtney?
I figured at some point you'll get to a point where I am. So
She's like, I already got your stuff.
She's on a whole nother level right now.
I
didn't mean that.
Yeah, we're like, so we're starting way down here.
We've been screwing around discussing shit. She's been actually reading.
She's like, I'm already through the first combat.
And that's a good point. Like sometimes you'll come to these collaborative sessions and you'll already know exactly who you're gonna play. You'll know their name, what their favorite color is. You know what happened to their family. Every single one of them. You'll have their names memorized. And other times
Dorian, what's your favorite color?
Yeah, exactly. When sometimes you'll show up and you won't know any of those things. You won't know what character you want to play yet. And for us, it's not about how taking the time to roll up. We can roll up like these guys roll up characters for fun. We'll be just rolling a new character.
Oh, sure.
Like I've already got 2 or 3 backup characters ready to go in the hopper. Because I just like
just not Matt.
Well, Lions has to because they die too often.
Yeah, well, it seems like when you constantly have party members trying to kill you, yeah, that happens.
No, why
does that tell you?
What does that tell you?
Well, I think we've discussed one thing that seems to be the central idea for this campaign. If we're talking specifically about this one, which is the dark secret shared together. So I think that
that's going to be the
when building characters for this one, at least the elements of background should have some sort of connection with each other. So I think that's some place to work from.
Yeah, that's a good background tie-in. It seems like.
So the other piece that we need to take into consideration when building a campaign or characters for a campaign is the mix of not just what we want to play, but the mix of races and classes within the party to support the party. So getting idea of what everybody wants to play, we'll be able to balance out that party. So we're not all a bunch of tanks or a bunch of clerics and we're on a holy mission.
Prepared for my Fistful of Dragons? Because it really feels like it.
No, with a fistful of dragons, we basically, as Mark was saying earlier, we nerfed every character we had and went as low as possible with the most obscure and insane ideas around the characters.
We tried to make it as challenging for you to get us to succeed.
You're like, I really don't want to. I don't want to kill the entire party.
But they're trying.
In fact, we tried to kill ourselves in an empty alley last week. So just saying.
There's an ambush right there. Let's run at it.
Yeah. Although in critical fail fashion, we still screwed up.
Yes. I think we all just hope collectively that we're too entertaining to die. So that's
that's where our value is.
So that being said, what does everybody want to play?
Well, I know Courtney said that she's going to do a half elven sorcerer with a noble background. So
wait. So is it like an ice sorcerer? Is her name? What is her name?
No,
it's not Anna. It's the other one. Is it Elsa? My daughter played one of those.
Let it go. Let it go.
Let it go.
At least we have a good soundtrack for this.
So there's a storm sorcerer, which is kind of cool. I guess it's from Unearthed Arcana.
Oh, right. Is it the
well, they get to do anytime they cast a first level spell, they get to fly 10 feet. And they don't provoke opportunity attacks, which is kind of neat. So you can basically, and it's before or after you cast the spell.
So it's a levitate on top of
kind of, but it's actually fly. You get to fly 10 feet, which is kind of neat, and that's a first level ability that the storm sorcerers get.
And the reason they don't get
so it's like Shotten without the shitty looking wings.
They don't get an opportunity attack is because they're like, what the fuck?
Where am I going?
What the hell?
But yeah, so that's what she was thinking about doing. And then I know Matt, so you were thinking about doing a Tabaxi Paladin?
Yeah, it's either a Tabaxi Paladin or a Tabaxi Rogue. I thought about Bard, but I can't sing for shit, so I'll go with Rogue or Paladin. I can feel I'm a self-righteous bastard, so Paladin fits right in line.
Oh yeah.
I'm just saying, it just works.
I'm personally like I'm looking at a troll monk.
Nice.
Because it just makes sense. I mean, that fits, right?
No, not at all.
I'm pretty sure you said none of the monster races. I'm pretty sure a troll is a monster.
I mean, it fits the kind of weird shit that you would play.
Hey man, if that's what you're into, that's what you're into.
We don't judge.
Just nerf his character from a troll to a halfling monk, and then just leave it at that.
Kung Fu troll.
So how about I play a troll monk who thinks he's a halfling?
Oh,
that's more in line with what you like, right, Matt?
That is much more in line with what I do.
Screw it. I'm taking a few levels of sorcerer so I can get polymorph. Every time I just keep polymorphing him back into something like less.
So are we starting at 1? What level are we starting at?
Yeah, starting at 1, and I will let you know too. Being that I always tend to like to have interesting tie-ins with sort of dark and demonic forces, and actually the adventure the campaign does have some things too. So if somebody wanted to play a tiefling or one of the other, well, I guess tiefling is, or I guess a genasi is another one, like the genie people, or the Azamar, which are touched by deities. Those would all be they would fit in well in this. I mean, not that anyone like obviously doesn't fit, but I think there are some that are probably might have a little bit more innate, sort of built-in background stuff for those particular races. But again, I always tell people as the DM, don't play what you think you need to play or what you should play. Play what you're going to enjoy playing and what you're going to have the most fun playing. Even if it ends up with an entire party of halfling rogues, so be it. It will be amazing.
Yeah, actually, that brings us to a good point that Greg had brought up the other day when we were kind of discussing this. And he said, and I'm paraphrasing, and you can correct me. Remember that the character should be memorable over optimal.
Yeah.
You want to have a character that people are going to remember. That's, I guess, and I agree with that. So this is just an opinion, but that it's better to have a character that people remember than it is to play a character that was optimized just right.
Right. Yeah. Yep. Agree 100%.
I wish that Lockie felt the same way. that he, because Lockhart and I together have never created a character that is memorable. We have never created a conjoined twin Russian wrestling team that was half monk, half barbarian. That was named I Am Rough.
And I am Tumble. No, wait, I am Rough. You're Tumble. Yeah.
Yes. Anyway,
I think the way I look at it is, if you don't really know the game that well or at all, and you just kind of page through the book and you find, some race or class, or you hear from others, this race is more powerful than any of the others, and this class is more powerful than any of the others, and you're like, oh, well, I'm going to play that then. You're not going to enjoy it as much as if you get an inspiration to play some character, that you've read about or seen a movie about, or you just have imagined it yourself. And you're like, I'm going to play a dwarf assassin because I have a great idea for how to play a dwarf assassin. And even though you might not be you might not be great, you might not be very good at assassinating people, but if you have inspiration to play it, that's going to make it memorable and that's going to make it fun. Way more fun than if you just pick what's the one that can do the maximum amount of damage.
If you come from a video game background, you're prone to pick a tank. And, why there's nothing wrong with a tank necessarily, it might not be the most fun for your first experience to be the one getting beat on and constantly dropped,
But I would think Greg has a great point about playing in the essence of playing what makes you feel good. Also, same with our DM. A lot of times I go by like going to Pinterest and looking up D&D character pictures, like just pages and pages and pages, and find that like weird cock of the eye in a character's face that speaks to me of like that would be really fun to play. Like I think all 4 characters that I can't decide between, I did that way, where I have these characters that I'm like, that looks like something that's going to be really fun to do, and it helped because I saw it visually. And I'm a visual learner, so I think it kind of depends on how you approach that fun.
I would like to chime in on one thing, and that is simply that I think it's always important to speak with your GM or DM, as they may go by, to find what acceptable races there are. And
Yes.
obviously we've discussed that here, but like what makes sense to be in any particular setting, because like I was making a joke earlier about playing a troll monk, but that just doesn't make sense, and it would almost certainly be unacceptable in any humanoid city. Like no troll
Trolls are
would
bad
be
guys.
allowed to survive.
Trolls are bad
It
guys.
would be about as weird as seeing, I don't know, a guy walking into town with 2 feral halflings and a couple of big mantis guys in tow.
I don't see your point.
That was pretty weird. That was pretty weird. I mean,
in Dark Sun, that's not necessarily the case.
The other thing that you should do when you're talking to your DM at the beginning of a party is to tell them whether you're good or evil. Good thing to tell your DM before you start playing, not after you've been playing for like 8 sessions.
Right. And you're like, oh, okay, so you guys are the bad guys. Now I know this. All right.
Because obviously, out of everybody in your campaign, the 2 bugs were the best people in that party.
Yes, that's true.
We were the good guys.
Yeah, you were the ones not trying to eat everybody else. Amazing.
I won't go into my whole Sarajevo rant because all of you know how I feel about that.
Hey, we were the only ones that were box trained. I'll just say that much.
This is very true.
Right.
This is very true.
That's why we got along so well inside the jail, because it was natural.
We used the piss corner. We knew it was
Quick
up.
question: Is there anybody going to play a cleric besides Koobs? Because we don't like Koobs clerics.
I'm not playing a cleric.
Okay. Just make it sure.
And
Nah. I've spent too much time being holy out and going rogue.
Actually, that's the one thing I haven't thought about.
Who's got their voice? Who's got the?
Yeah, someone's going.
Yeah, not me. I don't know. Somebody.
All right, so
They caught it.
Who is going heels?
anybody
Interested in heels?
Cleric? No.
This could be the most important thing to figure out.
Yeah, just saying. So going back to like the party makeup, it's really important to have a healer or 2.
Mic off.
I actually, everyone dies. I started the entire campaign based off the fact that there were going to be no divine healers.
Oh, right.
And then Mark had to go and screw that.
And then Cubes had to come, and he was like, "Really? Well, I get to be the only one in the world. All right, that's me then."
And then naturally he sucked at it.
Mic on.
Says the guy he brought back to life.
Yep. No, he did not bring me back to life. That was my good friend Landorian.
You were just angry because you were my henchman, and
no, he was the first one to bring you back to life before you even started playing, brother.
Airvan killed you. Airvan killed you dead, and I saved you. And you've had daddy issues with me ever since.
It's the first of many times you've been saved.
You know what my thought is?
What are you thinking of playing for Descent into Avernus? Do you have race, class, or background all thought of?
Yeah. No, it was going to be.
Yeah, let's take a turn. Let's circle around real quick. Let's give everybody a chance to.
Yeah. So
I
Matt, I want to
nominate Lions for a healer. That's what I think we should do. Because that goes against everything that he thinks.
All right, hey guys, let's rattle off. We gotta get this wrapped up, and then we gotta break, and I gotta switch stuff over before we get into everyone dies.
Right. So Matt, I got you as a Tabaxi Paladin right now, and that doesn't have to be written in stone, but that's just something that I got for right now.
Yes, please don't write on me.
Did you have an idea for a background?
Mike off.
I'm working on it. I was going to tie with another character that may have. Yeah, I'm working on it.
We may need to do another session of this next week to
Yeah.
handle 3 and 4.
Background is a whole nother piece, but yeah.
Soldier, yeah. Cool. Because there are a little bit different characters. So for some different things, like the acolyte, charlatan, criminal, entertainer. There's a new background called the Faceless. There is a folk hero, guild artisan, hermit, outlander, sage, sailor, noble, and urchin, and they all have like their own specific Baldur's Gate twists to them. And a lot of times they're fairly minor, but yeah, it just kind of tells like who you can ask for favors and that kind of good shit.
Gotcha.
Courtney, what will your character's name be? Do you know?
Damsel Sable.
Damsel Sable. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. So around the horn.
About as noble a noble name as you could possibly imagine. The literal damsel in distress.
Damsel in distress. That's nice. No, I was planning playing a human rogue.
You can play a rogue? All right.
Yeah, a human rogue. He was going to be a skills-based rogue, so high intelligence, high dex.
Cool.
Background would be he was born a prince into nobility, but really tries to downplay that as much as possible because he's not real tight to the line.
Mm-hmm. So do you want to do the noble background? Because you could, because one of the possibilities is like saying like, it's like, what is your relationship with your family? And it could be that you are like, outcast to the black sheep, or you basically want nothing to do with it. It's kind of up to you.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't looked at the backgrounds. I haven't looked at the black and white of them, but then I would totally be willing to do that. I think that the character that I have in mind would be somewhat likable by his family members, but he's just kind of like, this just ain't my thing. He wants to be a merchant. That's his big deal. Like he's born into royalty, but his heart is in sales. But what the real underlying thing is that he actually wants to be an assassin. Like that's his goal. He wants to follow the lines of one of his hero relatives who was like a master assassin.
Nice. Okay. Next, who's got an idea of what they want to play?
Erevan. That's how my horn goes.
Oh, okay. Well, I've traditionally in the past, almost every campaign I've picked, I'm always a hands-on guy, blade guy, up in people's grills and everything. So I'm really thinking on being some type of a caster, and maybe whether I'm some type of personal protection to one of the nobles, or directly linked to one of these nobles in some way. I don't know. Background I'm really not sure on, but I think I want to lean to some type of casting just because I never play any type of caster.
Nice. Do you have a race in mind as well?
Man, I didn't know what was on the table yet, and now that I know that it's kind of open up, I want to kind of maybe just look around a little bit and explore outside of my typical box that I pick from. I mean, I've picked some weird stuff. I've gone Minotaur, I've gone Dragonborn. Rogue was in the current campaign, obviously, but I want to break out of my normal box. So I want to take a little time and look at that a little closer. But
I want to find something boring.
Yeah.
Something plain.
Something plain.
Be a tabaxi, and then I could be a noble.
Right. But that's about as far as I've gotten so far. But one of my favorite things is, like you guys talked about in the past, is finding tie-ins with other characters, and that really is fun for me. So I kind of want to hear what everybody else is doing, and that'll help me kind of. And sometimes, for other people out there that can't choose, hearing what other people are doing and how they're tying in can kind of inspire you sometimes as which direction you want to go with your character.
To that note, I'm feeling this kind of nobleman with a group of advisor /
entourage,
protector, bodyguard crew. that
Which
can play
also-
very
Why are we falling
Dude,
back into everyone
which
dies
also-
around shotgun?
Hold on.
Also
What the
might,
fuck is
which
going
also
on?
might lead into a coup.
Why are you guys all
No.
making Chudwells? What the fuck is going on?
Service.
Why is everyone rolling Chudwells?
Oh, we
What is
haven't.
happening?
We
You make it
actually
look like so
haven't
much
rolled
fun.
the.
I
We
just
haven't
got
rolled
here.
the
You guys are
Chudwell
talking
yet.
like, oh yeah, we're making a nobleman. Yeah, I'll make it a
It's not-
nobleman
it's
too. Well,
Monday night.
my nobleman is a heart for sales. Well, my
You know why? Because you
Might
played
not
it
be
so
human, but
damn
he's-
well. You played it so damn well, John. That's why.
oh god.
Okay, man.
My
It's
nobleman
just
has a
'cause
gambling
we
debt.
Just awash
we all
with
want to be able to
flattery.
write speeches in our off time.
God, just pulling me over with the flattery and the speed.
My noble has a heart for religion and will quote the Bible literally.
Hey, guys and gal, can we rein it in for a sec? It's 9 o'clock. We've got to wrap up our.
I just
Yeah.
want to do
Seven.
this. I just want to do this real quick. This is what I'm choosing between right here.
Ooh. Oh. What? That's
what
like
is-
7 different things.
I mean, are we rolling characters? What is going on?
Yeah. Welcome, John.
One of those is what I'll be playing.
Well, I don't know when you guys all got to be full-time professional D&D players. Christ.
No, we just kind of
It
showed
was
up.
it was in the last hour while you were.
There was probably
not here.
785 messages the last 4 fucking days. I skip one goddamn game, and all of a sudden we're rolling new characters. I don't even know what's going on. Like,
For what
We'll
it's worth,
catch
I
you up
think
to
the-
speed
doing
later
another-
on, man.
we're
We're going to be
discussing
switching over to
characters.
playing. Hey, we'll catch you up to speed later.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right now, we're just going to let the rest of us go around the horn, and then we're going to switch over to everyone dies.
Let's hit
And
3
you'll,
and 4.
you'll
points,
pick
3 and
another
4 next
character
week.
like you.
I'm gonna
You'll be
have
fine.
to ask Duck to fucking tell me what's happening.
Yeah.
So does
Chuck will
anybody
fill you
else
in.
have at least a somewhat concrete idea? And again, it
I
doesn't
do.
have to be
I mean, you,
See,
I don't know,
all
you've got
four of
mine.
those are Mark. All 4 of those are concrete. All 4 of them have a story. All 4 of them have a purpose.
Stone's already rolled them up. He's already got
Right.
all 4 characters ready to go.
2 of them we've already discussed. One is the Ghostwise Halfling
Yeah.
that only speaks through telepathy,
Yeah.
and then the beef-huddled old man.
Right.
The befuddled old man. Based
There's
on
lots-
Lisbon, basically. And
Yeah.
then the other one's a half-orc bard. And then the other one is something I would love to talk to you about, and maybe we could expand on this next time we do it, which is basically a monk, but of Timora, the goddess of luck.
God,
Oh,
you
okay.
So
motherfucker.
it would be
I knew I should have gone first.
there's basically a almost like luck police, like doling out and then taking away luck. Basically. And I
Chris,
came
you
up
should.
with the idea because my children binged watched Avatar all weekend.
There you go.
And Aang is so good at irritating the shit out of people and getting them so flustered they fuck themselves up, that I was like, that would be a really fun monk character to like have it. Basically, it would be a combination between monk, bard, and battle master, to the point where you have the like vicious mockery to disadvantage people. So
As long as it doesn't have a British accent, we're going to be just fine.
Yeah, but he can't promise not to break into one.
Yeah, because he will break
accidentally.
into one at some point. You should
Yeah,
just play the
Dave
drunken
Jack,
master
wait a minute,
card.
Stone doesn't have a British accent.
No, he doesn't.
No, but he has used it. He
no.
has used one on occasion.
Just I want Bartholomew
Lockie,
around.
do you have any
It's
concept?
all right. No, get it.
Yeah. My daughter wants me to play an Australian named Donkey.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm going to either be an Australian with a really bad accent named Donkey,
Nice.
or I'm going to be a gnome named Widow Fiddle.
Widow
Widow
Fiddle.
Fiddle with it.
Oh,
No,
what?
no. You don't get to play gnomes anymore. Last time you did, it did not work out well for me.
It worked out
Nothing
wonderfully
ever
for
works
me.
out well for you, dude.
Yeah.
Jack, what was your
That's a
idea?
thing.
You wanted,
Lions,
you
this
were
isn't
gonna
me,
play
it's
half-elf?
you.
I'm gonna be a half elf bard that's more not the grab instruments and let's get raucous type of bard, but more along the lines of a herald, advisor. What's that? I can never remember his name. The little dude that we've got as a henchman right now, and everyone dies.
Oh, the ominous fabler.
Kind of like an ominous fabler, but more. He's very charismatic. He's very eloquent.
I told him.
Yeah, but not really that guy. That guy's way too raucous too. He's way more refined, way more, less in your face.
It's the guy from Knight's Tale, man. I'm telling you.
It's similar in.
But it's the other. It's the other
dude, that guy was so great. addressing all the peasants and being like, "This is for all, not those assholes."
I've decided I'm no longer going to be a bard because now every time you guys see me, that's exactly what you're going to think of, when that's not really who I am.
That is what we're going to think.
Lions, did you have any idea?
He plays an instrument. He's a bard. That's what it is.
So how do you feel about the? I don't even know how to say this. Our
artifice.
Our
if you can't say it, you can't play.
You can't say it, you can't see it.
You talking about the bird guy?
Yeah,
yes.
They are interesting. I mean, they are they get flight right out the gate, which is
do the tabaxi like to fuck with them?
Oh yeah, tabaxi are on a strict poultry diet.
We do have to have.
I mean, that might be. Just saying.
Are you kidding? I mean, like, we're birds, man. We hunt cats.
Yes.
We hunt cats.
Cat bird thing.
We're gonna have player on player. Well, not like that.
Oh yeah, like that.
Yeah, baby.
It's gonna get spicy.
Because flight is a big deal, but that's basically all they get. They don't have any other, no dark vision, no special other abilities. They get like an unarmed attack that does D4 damage, which I think is pretty much fucking standard damage for an unarmed attack.
it's a
it's a way of saying you get to punch things.
Right.
But it's just gonna be special.
Right. So yes, they do get to fly, which is big. But they, I think a lot of the other races have other things that are equally as awesome. So,
well, I wasn't asking for purposes of being able to power game. I was asking as to whether or not that's a class that would, or a race rather, that would fit into the campaign, or if you want to just say no, and I can find something else.
It would fit in. It's definitely one of the it's a rarer race, but I don't think it's going to be. You might get a couple sidelong stares as like, oh, what the fuck?
But now
they evoke fear and wonder.
Now that there's a tabaxi, it has to be. I mean, there's no.
So my question is the cat person going to constantly be trying to bat at the flying thing?
Oh yeah,
I hope so.
Always. Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. Reading the description of the bird thing that says great purpose, it looks like that would be pretty challenging to roleplay. But us being the veteran role players that we are, I think that
that it'll either be awesome or it will be a critical failure.
Did you have a class in mind for Birdman?
I did, but then Greg had to talk.
Oh god.
Now I'm not so sure.
Greg have to
Was
say.
it Alan?
Sorry, Alan.
Remember, we're going to be
sorry.
this week.
Sorry,
30 minutes.
No, it was
Greg's
Alan,
over there going,
not Greg.
all I've been doing is drinking wine. I don't know what you're talking about.
Beer.
Here, I haven't said shit.
Here's that. I'm gonna get that.
No. Here's either way, regardless of race, because I'm not real enamored with any particular race. It really doesn't matter a whole lot to me. I was thinking of playing a monk though.
Okay.
Could it be a luck monk?
No, it absolutely would not be a luck monk.
This is helping me pare down though.
It will be a bad luck monk because that's how I roll.
It could be a drunken master monk. It could be a drunken master. In Volo's Guide to Everything, there's a drunken master monk.
Can you play a ninja in the fact that we would never see you?
Well, there it goes, ladies and gentlemen.
And on that note, this concludes setup steps 1 and 2. Join us next week for steps 3 and 4.
Right.
Yeah, I was wondering if we were going to need to split this into 2 different sessions.
Yeah.
Right.
I think we
And
did.
we'll still have to get through the whole dark secret that binds everybody together. But I think once we get character classes, so for those of you that have character classes and races and even backgrounds, all of that picked out, fantastic.
We're
Your work
missing
is
Greg.
done. You can start.
Yeah, we need Greg.
Oh, Greg.
Yeah, I mean, so
No,
I'm
we,
still.
we don't need Greg because I already pegged him for being responsible for Alan's fuck up.
that means we don't need Alan.
Alan's sad.
So I'm still kind of on the fence about whether I want to play or not, but if I do, there's sort of 2 possibilities. The one I'm more leaning towards is just a human fighter.
Yep.
And he's going to be the idea is that he's got kind of a con man background. That he used to be kind of like a con man, like Jarlaxle or Sawyer from Lost.
Nice. Nice.
But something bad happened, and he kind of had to get out of that business, and so now he's just kind of a mercenary, and he's trying to avoid the people that he got into a bad situation with.
So more like Army of Darkness.
Like
Ash.
Ash. You want to play Ash?
So kind of like like a Han Solo or Jarlaxle, but a little, but not. Han Solo's got like the heart of gold, and this guy doesn't really have the heart of gold. So, like a Sawyer or whatever. I was trying to think of other famous con men that aren't not someone who's totally evil, and he's not like one of these long-term scheming con men. He's more of like an opportunistic, grabs it when he sees it kind of thing. But just doing mercenary work on the side, which would fit in perfectly with the red fist or whatever. And then the other idea, I'm still kind of playing around with it, was to be a tiefling ranger whose primary enemy is demons or devils or whatever they call them nowadays.
Right, infernals.
Whatever lives in Avernus.
That would be cool. But I like both of them. Both concepts are awesome. They would both certainly work.
You guys are crazy. I got a name and an accent.
Class and the race that'll fall in there. I got a name and an accent. That's all I need.
It doesn't matter. It's donkey. That's what I am.
Donkey.
Doesn't need anything else. It's just donkey.
Somebody needs to play an ogre, and they can be like, "Donkey, get over here."
Ogre monk. An ogre monk. Why did I not think of that before I said troll?
You be an ogre and I'll be a donkey. Yeah?
There you go.
Why don't you be that aquatic race?
Look, we've already got an Elsa. We might as well have a Shrek and Donkey.
You can be a monkfish.
A monkfish?
Monkfish.
One
the hell is
fish, two
climbing
fish,
on you, Courtney?
Redfish, monkfish.
Is that some sort of weird rug that's crawling on you?
That's the small cat.
It's a tabaxi.
Stole that baby.
It's a tabaxi.
They bought that baby at cash money. All
right.
Well, hey, I think we're solid. I think we're gonna come back maybe early next week if we can all get back together. 8 o'clock Central Standard Time.
Everybody work on your thoughts and collect your information, and we'll discuss again.
Try not to choose a noble to piss John off.
Well, we already have.
We're all nobles.
We already have a noble.
Yeah,
you're a noble, and you're a noble.
Between next 3 to 7 years, we'll finish up the current campaign and get started on this one.
That's right.
Yeah, we don't want to rush into anything.
That gives us time to build our backstory.
Okay. Well, hey, for those of you who are watching, thank you so much. I am just going to end the stream briefly so that I can Oh, I'm looking over here when the camera's here. That's awesome.
I do that all the time.
Why are you going to end the stream? Why don't you?
Because I want to make this into 2 different streams for.
You don't want to cross the streams.
Don't cross the streams. Don't cross the streams.
Exactly.
Yeah, we already crossed the streams enough.
While I'm offline.
We don't need to switch Zoom, though, do we?
No, we don't need to stop the Zoom. I just am going to stop the stream, so I'm telling them that.
Entertainment transition.
He's not talking to you. He's talking to them.
A large crowd of.
All right.
We need to do a commercial
break. Guys, we'll be right back. Thanks so much. We'll just a few